Good morning. Come on in. How is everyone? I hope that you're all doing well today. This is our Tuesday morning start of the week with our home yoga practice live. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and I am really grateful to be able to share practice with you all today. This week, I think that I'd like to explore tapas, Tapas, and that is indeed an amazingly delicious Spanish cuisine. But in this context, it means heat or discipline or devotion and dedication. So I am looking forward to being able to share that. This morning, I'd like us to actually start with a little bit of movement, and then we'll come to some note taking and some study, and then maybe back to some movement. So I want to see what we can do within our amount of time. If you are new, welcome, and thank you so much for joining. This is a progressive, studious program to help practitioners develop their own personal practice of yoga, of the 8 limbs of yoga. So if this element of study and discussion isn't for you, I appreciate you dropping in. But if you're wanting to explore, great, come on in. And I'm so grateful for those who have been sticking around and following along. Please let me know that you're here. I see Claudia's here. Welcome, Claudia. I don't know if you're back from your travels, but it's been wonderful to see your shares out in the social media verse. So we're going to get started this morning with a sit, a check-in on our physical bodies. Look at how you have arranged your space and see if you feel like, okay, is it ready for you? For your practice, for your mind. So if you need to get up and move a couple of things so that you're like, yep, I'm in my zone, and I'm less distracted and able to keep my mind in my mind-body connection, great. All right, so I'm going to back it up a little bit and find a sitting space. Please, if you want to sit in a chair, sit in a chair. If you would like to lie down, lie down. This is our way of centering and coming into our practice. You could do it in child's pose if child's pose is something that is familiar to you. All right, I like to start in a comfortable sitting space, inviting myself into my practice. So I'll repeat and welcome again. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga. We're here to share home yoga practice live this week, and this week's theme on tapas. I am merely sharing my practice of yoga with you. Some of you may be like, well, who are you? Yeah. All right, I could say however many hours of study and whatever certifications that I've received, but I have been a practitioner for more than 20 years. I've been teaching donation-based yoga, community-based, community outreach yoga for more than 10 years. And yeah, I didn't just like show up on the internet after clicking on a couple of pages to learn some postures. But for those who are here, I did abandon my affiliation with certifying bodies, which I had been. And I can talk further about why. But I don't want anyone to look at any sort of letters behind my name as the sole indication of what I know or my quality as an instructor or sharer. Hi, Julia. Alrighty. So as I said, look at your space, make sure that you're feeling comfortable in your space, maybe light an incense, and that's only to guide the mind toward a higher aspiration. Creating a space of less distraction. Feel your physical body. And listen to what it has to tell you. What's tense? What's loose? And how is that a vessel for your mind and your spirit? Is it creating a leaky vessel? Is it creating a tight, restricted vessel? Check in with your breath. Now I'll invite us to bring our hands to the Anjali Mudra, holding an intention close to our heart in our hands. And since this week's theme is tapas, or discipline, devotion, maybe just let that be a reflection as you hold here. What is your connection to discipline and devotion? To what? To yourself? To others? To something higher than yourself? What is it? How do you embody it? How do you feel it? How do you connect with it? And then I'll invite us to begin with an Om if you would like to bring voice to your practice and that intention, dedicating ourselves and applying ourselves to the sounding, not for any kind of note or singing, but to hear vibration emanating from the source within us, sharing freely outside of us. You can sit silently with us. You could say home instead. Deep inhale if you're joining. Again. Last one. I'll invite us to come to hands and knees and make our way to our child's posture. All right. So I'm just going to change the camera view. Whoops, and just spilled a whole bunch of ashes all over the place. You could have a blanket down under your knees. You could just wait at tabletop if child's pose isn't comfortable in your body. Holding your mind and your heart. Dedication, devotion, discipline. What does that feel like in your body right now? Are you forcing something on the body right now? Because that's your notion of discipline. Let's breathe in and come forward to hands and knees. Exhale, sinking it back into child pose. Inhale, flow it forward, being aware of the physical body, honoring its carriage of our spirit. Exhale, sinking it back. Breathe in as you flow forward. Breathing out as we come back. Let's breathe in and come forward and lower ourselves down. Inhale, lift the chest ever so gently. Exhale, lower. Breath in. Exhale, lower. Feel the body waking up. Breath in. Listen to what it's telling you. Honor its limitations. Exhale, lower. This is a connective practice. Yoga, yoking, unified. Inhale. Exhale, come back to hands and knees. Let's tuck the toes and start to ease the butt up, dropping the head down for down dog. You could pedal the heels if you like. Maybe make a sound, connect to your whole body, moving in union and unison. Breath in, exhale, we'll bring the left knee down, step the right foot up carefully and intentionally, and then let's step the left foot up. Half flat back breath in, lifting the chest up. Maybe your hands are resting on your knees. Exhale, release the upper body down. And we'll roll the spine upward, feeling the body standing erect. Feel your eyesight, your hearing, your sense of smell, taste, touch, everything that's touching your body right now. How connected are we with our senses? Breath in, reaching upward. Feel the lift, the aspiration within us. Exhale, letting everything go. Breath in, offer the chest. Let's plant the palms, step to plank. Maybe your knees are down and lower. Breath in, offer the body and the flesh to move. Exhale, downward facing dog. Are we aware of the bones, the organs, tendons, where in the body is asking for attention? Right knee coming down, stepping your left foot up, stepping the right foot up. Now, if you don't need that transition, don't use it. Breath in, lifting the chest. Exhale, releasing. Rounding the spine up to standing. Feel the process. Feel arriving. Breath in, shoulders down, no strain. Exhale, release. Breath in, lifting the chest. Exhale, stepping it back. Make a choice about your knees and your plank. Lowering down, mindfully aware of how the body has the strength to do so. Breath in, being kind to the chest. In the cobra, maybe keep those hips down. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. What are your feet doing? What are your shoulders doing? What's your mind doing? Looking forward, and we'll travel the feet up in between the hands. Choose how you get there. Navigate what your body will desire. Breath in, lengthening the spine. Exhale, releasing. Bending our knees, sinking the butt downward, lifting the chest up for our chair. Feel your eyes, your hearing, your touch, your taste, your smell. Feel your heart beating, your organs. Feel yourself standing on the earth. Where on this earth, if you were looking at yourself from out in space, just feel your body standing on the earth and release, letting it go. Feel gravity on your flesh. I'm going to ask if you want to just step the left foot back foot flat. Feel that right knee bending. Maybe support yourselves as you come up. Feel where you are. Feel whatever's lifting, whatever's sinking. Feel the flesh in your hips. The strength of standing. Breath in. Hands down. Step the left leg up. Let's step the right foot back. Choose your length. Greet yourselves where you are. Lifting the spine up. Feeling the hips, your back, the front of the thigh. Ankles, maybe open the jaw. Breath in, offering the chest upward. What does it look like and feel like? Hands down, we'll step it back to plank. Make a choice. Breath in. Exhale, lowering ourselves down. Inhale, cobra. Now I'm going to choose, my body feels like it's a little bit more accessible to opening. Choosing upward facing dog. So I've got the tops of my feet down, hips forward, knees off the floor. This is not for everyone. What's rooting? What's lifting? What feels stable? What's screaming? How are you responding? And downward facing dog. Big breath. Ha. Let's look forward, step, walk, maybe jump the feet up. Breath in, lifting the chest. Forward fold, listen to the backs of the legs, the spine. Be present with what we're feeling. Inhale all the way up, lengthening, bending the knees, sinking the butt back chair. Feel the weight in your heels. What's your spine doing? What are your hips doing? What are your thighs doing? How connected are we to our physical existence? And releasing it down. What is releasing? What is fully committed to releasing? How is the mind and the body helping and working together to make this connection happen? Breath in, lift the chest, stepping that left foot back. Notice how you arrived on the earth. Did you slam that foot back there? What is the relationship we're creating? Breath in, lifting. Are we experiencing sinking or have we settled? Are we experiencing lifting the chest or anything that can lift? Or did we stop practicing and applying our intention? Hands down, stepping that left foot up, trading it out, stepping that right foot back. Maybe you lengthen the stride, meeting yourselves at what is possible, what you're capable of, not settling in, applying ourselves into our practice, lifting the chest. How connected are we to all of our senses and our intention? Breath in, hands down, step back to plank, lower. Inhale. Exhale, child's pose. And I'll invite us to bring ourselves up to a seated space, whatever is comfortable. All right. And we'll explore a twist. And twist. And back to center. I'm going to drop my right ear toward the right shoulder and bring the right hand up by the left ear. Good. Chin down, rolling my way over to the other side, switching hands. Chin down, hands behind the head, maybe pressing down a little and round the spine. What is our back telling us? What are we carrying back there? We'll release the arms. And bring ourselves upright. I'm going to bring the bottoms of the feet together. And come forward. What's that body wisdom telling us? Rolling the spine up and coming forward. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And bring ourselves up. Good. Bringing the bottoms of the feet down, knees up, inner thighs together, chest lifting. What's still rising in your body? What areas of the body have the ability, capacity to lift? What does it feel like to be aware and conscious in that lifting? What are we aware of in pressing down? See your body on this planet from way out in space. What's at war? What's at peace? Where do we find that collaboration, that unification? Good. And release. Find a comfortable sitting space, a cross-legged space that works for you. We'll bring the hands behind the chest and just notice your clasp with the hands. Feel the chest. What's opening, what's rising, what's rooting. And allow the upper body to come forward. And we'll breathe in and bring it back up, keeping the chin tucked. See how much of the neck we can feel. Exhale it forward. Trying to be present with the spine, the shoulders, and the neck. Inhale. What do they have to tell us and teach us here? Exhale. Inhaling it up. And we'll release those arms and bring those arms out. All right. So we're going to do a Kundalini practice of just twisting here. Continue to try to have the crown of the head growing tall, sitting up erect. Feel the limitation of the ringing and the side-to-side twisting, trying not to allow ourselves to go beyond our edge. But explore the edge. Explore the edge of the twist. Is there more to be found? Do we know how to find that edge without forcing? What is the natural rhythm that the body starts to connect with from the earth and the heavens? Up and down the spine, where are we experiencing freedom and limitation? Freedom and limitation. What heat are we noticing starting to build? Where in the body are we noticing this heat? What is the state of our breath? Kundalini rising. Feel the energy itself as though you have no role in making this happen. Good. Let's stop, breathe in, lengthen upward. Exhale, gentle side bend. Breath in, exhale. Inhale. Hands to prayer. What is your intention? Where is your attention right now? How are you feeling your intention in your physical body, in your breath, and in your mind? Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Let's go ahead and get comfy, maybe get a little closer. I'm going to get a little closer and we'll grab our journal and start a little bit of a discussion about tapas, about one of the niyamas, right? The niyamas are one of the first limbs of yoga. So if you're just joining, I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and our home yoga practice live gives us an opportunity to develop our own personal yoga practice. And with that, we've been working on maybe like a 4-tiered element, just to give ourselves a basic structure, especially for those who often find themselves going, I can't practice at home. Once I roll out my mat, I don't know what to do. So we give a little bit of structure so that we can maybe start to figure out what we want to do. So first, what are we practicing? And this week it is tapas, and we'll talk about that a little bit more of how do we practice and bring awareness into what is discipline, what is heat. Second, then, is setting up an amount of time. Actually, I'm going to back up for a second. Within that plan, within the theme, we've also been selecting, say, 4 or 5 yoga postures that we're also bringing in within that theme. So we'll work those postures, maybe a breath, maybe a mudra. This is a mudra, different poses with the hands, and then maybe a meditation. All right, then we set up what's a realistic amount of time that we know that we can commit to each day. Okay, and for the purposes of this practice, we're doing it once a week. So each day this week, do you want to set up 15 minutes and say, I'm going to commit to this, or 20 minutes, or an hour, 2 hours, whatever, but make it accessible, and then you're building from that point. Okay, so if you set up 20 minutes, can you do 22? Can you do 23? Alrighty, here we go. Then the component of our own home practice or personal practice is, once you've decided this is what I'm practicing, then you set up your amount of time, then you do the thing. And when we do the thing, what are we doing when we're doing the thing? Are we just doing the thing? And that then becomes a part of what can distinguish this from being a fitness class and a yoga practice. And it has been my desire to try to share what is a yoga practice. So it requires us to observe what is going on in the body, in the breath, in the mind, in our spirit, our motivations, our reactions, and our attachments. So we get to observe, and that's where the journaling comes in and the reflection after our mat time. Alrighty, and then lastly, or firstly, an element of guidance. What are you going to study and chew on, right? So oftentimes I'm giving us some suggestions as far as reading material, or at least some keywords to do your searches. And lastly, about guidance, I do strongly recommend that you have a person, not just a website or a static video. We're not static here. So if there's a question you have, please send it my way. I can talk back to you, right? But unless you're here on replay or on demand, which I love that if you want to engage in it that way, send me an email, okay? Belinda@justbeyoga.com, or type it into the Facebook Messenger and send us a message there. Or type in a comment here if you're here with us live. But have guidance, receive guidance. When you encounter something in your practice and you go, what is that? Have a way of engaging in someone that you respect their practice, you've seen the merits of their practice or how they carry their practice in their lives, and you say, hey, I want some of that. Hey, what is it that you do when you encounter this kind of thing or this kind of obstacle? All righty. And then some reading material. All right. So that's a bit about creating a yoga plan. And last week we were working on dukkha, or suffering. And this week I've decided that I wanted to talk about tapas, or discipline, or heat toward change. There we go. So welcome. I'm seeing some folks in here, so feel free to jump in and say hello if you are here. Tapas, according to Desikachar, is heat toward a change, applying ourselves and putting that dedication and energy toward a change. Sometimes people are loosely referring to tapas as just as heat. And I feel as though, yes, that's true, but there's a danger to that, especially if it's taught only in the context of heat. Now let's do a bunch of boat poses and chair poses and fry ourselves, okay? The Desikachar, TK Desikachar says, tapas is the process of removing impurities. Sometimes you'll see in some Sanskrit or ancient texts that'll say, like firing gold to remove the impurities, right? Heating it so much that then you're left with the purity of gold. And so you had to burn away the toxins or burn away the impurities. Elimination or purification. It is one of the second limbs of yoga. And the second limb of yoga has to do with kind of our own dedicated way to approach ourselves. So being pure, applying ourselves with discipline or heat, dedication. I like to use the word dedication, devotion when it comes to tapas, self-study, and contentment, and applying ourselves to something greater than ourselves. All right, so that's a degree of a little bit of understanding of tapas. So tapas for me was a really interesting road to navigate, because I did throw myself into a lot of the flame, into a huge amount of the flame, and said, oh, then I've got to do more better, right? So I can do those plank challenges until I'm ready to cry. Or I would, sit into a boat pose class, or even, yes, I've been guilty of starting a class in boat pose, right? When the body is absolutely not ready. And it started to dawn on me of how I was using my practice as punishment. And that's where some of the danger can lie in our interpretation or our application of tapas, because we can be saying we're doing something healthy for ourselves and disguising it, and actually really doing a great amount of harm, inflicting a lot of damage to ourselves. Discipline in our culture doesn't have necessarily a positive connotation. It can kind of bring that boot camp mindset to us. And there's a danger to that, because I don't know of any boot camp where we see the drill sergeant as soft and fluffy, right? We see the drill sergeant as someone who is imposing pain in order to kind of beat something out of us. As a trauma survivor myself, that is not a great context for growth. It's not a great way for me to plant seeds for healing. That's a way for me to plant seeds for self-harm. Okay. So transforming tapas into a way of us looking at dedication, devotion, and applying a heat toward a positive change. That is a great way that I really started to be able to transform looking at tapas. So here's a little bit from Jessica Char. So yoga is both the movement toward and the arrival at a point. The yoga that we're practicing and in which through practice we can make a progress is called Kriya Yoga. The sutras, or yoga texts, scriptural texts, sacred texts, define Kriya Yoga as being made up of three components: tapas, or that heat that we're talking about; svadhyaya, self-study; and ishvara pranidhana, surrender to something bigger than ourselves, or cultivating our higher being. All right. So applying ourselves with a heat and devotion, studying ourselves and observing ourselves, that self-awareness, and a humility and surrender. All of those are components of Kriya Yoga. Tapas does not mean penance or castigation, but is something we do in order to keep us physically and mentally healthy. Okay, so it's not do it till it hurts. It's not no pain, no gain. It is toward becoming physically and mentally healthy, committing ourselves enough toward what makes us grow physically and mentally healthy. It is a process of inner cleansing. We remove things that we do not need. All right. So that is one aspect from Jessica Char about tapas. Any thoughts, please type in now, any thoughts about your practice so far to date, and how you have related to this kind of heat or discipline, your thoughts about heat and discipline when it comes to yoga. And maybe how do you wish to explore that devotion or heat toward change in your yoga practice this week? So I'm just going to give a little pause to see what some folks want to share, because we do have this opportunity of being able to interact with one another. So, what has been your relationship to discipline in your practice so far, and how might you want to develop that? I will wait for a moment. I know that Claudia is here, Julia is here. You do not have discipline yet. Ah, why do you say that, Julia? You're here. So is that not a form of dedication or devotion? How are we defining discipline? And please, I do not mean that in a sharp way, but I do mean it as a way of kind of mirroring back so that we can change and transform maybe the way that we're engaging in tapas or devotion. Because I see you being here as a dedication to yourself and to your self-improvement. I'm sorry, guys, I keep looking at the old camera because I'm trying now this new thing of having a closer camera when we're having this up front kind of thingy, and then the farther away camera. Didn't have a regular practice. Okay. And regular for you might mean, Julia, what? Daily, every other day? Does it mean a certain amount of time in your practice? And I'll leave Julia's up there for a moment while I talk to Claudia and Joe. Joe says it allows him to clear his mind. Single focus. Ooh, I love that. I'm going to pop that up there for a second. So we're talking about what does dedication, devotion, or the heat of practice mean for you? And Joe says that it allows him to clear his mind, because very good observation, Joe, that tapas does lead to focus, because applying ourselves toward that intention and that continued reapplication, what is that other than focus, right? It requires that concentration to reapply and reapply. And it then does help us isolate and not be distracted by all of the other things that are going on in life. So great. Anyone else have any other contribution about how they experience discipline in their yoga practice? And remember that our yoga practice is 8 limbs, not just the poses, but our application toward our breath, our application toward the text and study, our application toward looking at meditation. And I loved what Julia was talking about regular practice. And so I just wanted to return one more time in case Julia wanted to share what did regular practice mean for her. I think that it might apply for many of us, because we put time limits and say, I do this a lot. And I'll say, well, I only did 40 minutes of practice today, so I suck. Right. I will instantly go into a negative thinking pattern really quickly. And then I have to look at, did I only think that if I did 2 hours, then the merit of my practice is worthy? And that's when I showed my discipline. I actually, if I go into those extremes, can start to really rip apart some of the sinews, trying to create balance and health. Remember what he said about balance and health, physically and mentally and spiritually. All righty, I'm going to pop up one more here before we move on. Let's see what Claudia is sharing. Tapas requires me to think about ease and steadiness in my practice and how to integrate my breath. Ooh, nice stuff. Yes, because applying ourselves with that intention, and then if you keep that stira sukha, that ease and steadiness in mind, how am I applying myself repeatedly toward that ease and steadiness, and let that ease and steadiness come in, and then the body gets to benefit from not hurrying, not straining, right? The joints get to say, oh, thank you for applying yourself toward a little bit more ease, because then I'll get a little bit more longevity, right? Get that warranty on some of these body parts, okay? As well as integrating the breath. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know it can be difficult, it can be challenging, it can be a little intimidating to share our thoughts publicly, but I really am trying to create as much of a space that as though we were all in the same room and we're able to be conversing with one another. Because if you've not been in the studio with me, I would do this. And if this were to be a face-to-face scenario, I wonder, how integrated people would be to stop and engage. Hey, what does this mean? What does this feel like for you? All righty. I'm going to share just a little bit more. According to Hindu mythology, the divine being, in order to create the universe, voluntarily underwent intense self-discipline. This cosmic yoga caused the divine being to sweat, thus producing out of its pores the cosmos with its countless beings and things. The process of voluntary self-limitation and self-challenge, limitation and challenge, and it's a process that gets to be integrated together, bears the name tapas in Sanskrit, which means literally heat or glow. The ancient sages pointed to the solar being as the primary practitioner of tapas, and in fact, as the originator of yoga. The solar being, so the sun, thus sun salutation, right? We did two different types of sun salutes as a bit of our morning asana practice this morning when we started, saluting that sun, that source of energy and life. Often Westerners think of Patanjali, who is seen as the author of the sutras, as the father of yoga, but this honorific title rightly belongs to the original womb of the universe. All right, we're going to get into the Bhagavad Gita, blah, 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 so I'm going to leave that be, but to be able to talk about what is some of the mythology of that origin, and can we kind of feel what it would be like to sweat out of our pores so much creation and manifestation and applying ourselves in that way. Okay, Julia said, how to return again and again to myself. I would like to do that on a more regular basis. Thank you. Wonderful. And we can. And it's hard. All right. So last week we talked a little bit about suffering. That was our theme. And we talked about what are the obstacles that are in our way when we're looking at perception. And it certainly applies here when we're looking at what are the obstacles to applying ourselves with dedication. Right. We just start to give up. We say we don't have time, but we have to look honestly at what some of those obstacles are and say, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to keep doing it. And then I got to forgive myself, and I'm going to keep doing it. Okay. So tapas. This week, I'm going to offer that we look up in either any Iyengar text, maybe anything written by Desikachar, or if there is a text that you really enjoy, please feel free. I've also suggested Lilius Folan as a wonderful resource. Maybe see what she has to say about tapas. I think I shared with you all because one of her books that I have talks about coming into our twilight and mature body in yoga, and how do we apply our tapas and our discipline when our bodies are aging and changing. So we want to keep that respect. So she's a great source. Also, I share sources of diversity, women and people of color. And so look at where you get your source of information. So Desikachar and Iyengar were taught by Krishnamacharya. I take them as authoritative voices. Okay, so let's think about an amount of time. What is an amount of time that we can truly commit to on a daily basis? And that is toward a bit of meditation, a bit of movement. That could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Have you been able to do 15 minutes or 20 minutes of yoga asana without anyone telling you what to do? And what's difficult about that? Now I'm going to open that up here for a little bit of discourse and a little bit of conversation. And it's okay if you're like, I've still got to push play on a video or something. Or I committed myself to 10 minutes and of doing some poses, and here's what came up for me. So let's hear back. What is an amount of time that you all have been able to commit to in meditation and asana? And what are some hurdles to doing it without someone telling you what to do? So I will wait and share a little bit about myself. It probably took me, after really going to lots of studios and paying lots of money for lots of packages, of doing 2 practices a day. So, upwards of 2.5 to 3 hours of practice in a studio a day. It took me at least a good 4 to 5 years. And even teacher training before I set myself on the mat and trusted that I could do something. And it started with doing nothing, sitting on the mat and going. And then I got to notice and write down what just happened. I was frustrated. I was pissed off. I was embarrassed that I didn't know what to do. And then I got to start to question, what was that embarrassment about? Do I really just want to move? Can I just move? And then I just started to move. And so I went from child's pose to hands and knees and did cat and cow. And I'm like, well, this doesn't feel like a real yoga practice. And then I started to say, well, why? Write that down. Why does that not feel like a real yoga practice? And after 20 minutes elapsed, I left my mat and didn't feel like a bona fide yogi. Didn't feel like anything. I felt still a little degraded. Went back to some yoga classes, but I came back and then started to move. And I started to trust, I do know what a sun salutation is. And I did 1 or 2. And then I felt like it doesn't feel the same. I don't hear that person's voice in my head. I don't hear their music. I don't have my friends beside me. So is my practice my friends beside me? Is my practice only someone else telling me what to do? Or am I using my practice to come into myself? Wrote that down. Came back the next day. Okay. All right. So Claudia is saying, as you know, we tune into you regularly. Do not practice independently enough. We do, however, do a bit of our own thing as our body beds? Begs? Did you mean begs? Okay. I like that. Thank you. Thank you. And folks, of course, I would love for you to keep coming back. That would be wonderful. And I have sat here with 0 eyeballs and been like, but I'm still going to do my practice and I'm still going to share. Me going through yoga philosophy and sharing it is part of my study, reintegrating, keeping that study going, holding myself accountable. Me doing my yoga practice here, still holding myself accountable, practicing my breath, all of those things. So I'm doing my practice whether or not folks are coming. What the body wants, right? Okay, gotcha, Claudia. Thank you. Eventually, though, I do want, I guess for me, the sign of, did I truly share practice with folks? Is if folks are able to take any nuggets of whatever it is I can share for them to build the foundation blocks for your own practice. That you are finding, wow, I did a 20-minute breath practice today, and that's exactly what I needed. Oh, wow, I realized I was over in a certain sense, right? I've been listening to too much loud sound, television-wise, radio-wise. Oh, I need more silence. And that your yoga practice is what has helped you, because it is yoga, go, ooh, I need more silence. Ooh, I need to shut the visual stimulation. Ooh, I need a different visual stimulation. I went to Lake Michigan recently. And I got to have far sight, right? Looking into the horizon. And I realized just how strained my eyes have been from having screen devices. So the eye is only looking, 10 inches or so away from my face, and then hyper focusing on super small text. My eyes, like muscles deeper in the back of my skull, to look far off. And I realized, oh, my eyes were craving that, craving not having light beaming into the retina. So that's a great way of bringing some balance and some discipline of applying myself toward finding that balance. Alrighty, so let's talk about some poses for this week. I think that I would like one of the poses to be the actual sun salutation. I hope that you feel like you know the sun salutation. If you do not, go ahead and go back to the beginning of this video, and we did, I think, 3 sun salute A's, and then we did 2 sun salute B's. And the B's were modified, all right? And the B's start with chair pose. So we did the chair, and then we stepped back to warrior 1, lift up into warrior 1, we traded legs. I say it was a modification of a sun salutation because we didn't go into the down dog or the cobra to go through. So it was just a modified way of getting into the heat of the chair, getting into the warriors. The continued repetition of the sun salutations. Sun salutation is a whole body mantra. Mantra means repeating something over and over, letting a seed get embedded into us. And so there we're embodying it through just the continued application and continued practice. Continued sun salutation is a wonderful way to start to engage into what is discipline. What is the continued application? Because I know that I've certainly gotten involved into the extreme practices of 108 sun salutation. I am not saying that that's what you need to do. Feel the cringe and let it go. But the continued application, we're going to get tired. Those arms are going to get tired, lowering through, lifting in the heart. Where do we start to find that ease and steadiness? As Claudia mentioned, as you're continuing to go through, do you know how many sun salutes you can do before you start to lose that smooth, even balanced connection to breath? Do you know how many it takes for you to start to lose your connection to your intention? Or when did it start to turn into a fitness competition? Right? So that's a great way. Sun salutations I'm going to recommend as one space. It isn't a single pose, but it is a space of asana practice for us to explore tapas. The next is going to be a standing posture, and I think I'd like it to be tree. We can do tree in an accessible way, but I think some of you already know that being in a one-legged space can create a strain of focus and applying ourselves, especially if we feel as though we don't have balance and if we feel like we're falling over, reapplying to get back into it, that's tapas. Applying ourselves with that dedication and feeling the heat. Frustration creates heat, right? Dejecting or rejecting notions create heat. That all creates that agitation. But that continued application also is a new kind of heat. So tree. So sun salutations and tree. Boat. Yay. Boat. Sorry, but we did a boat in that last sequence that we started off the day with. And I think that the next that I would like to do is going to be bow pose. We haven't really applied ourselves, I don't really feel, over the last few months into this kind of a posture. So that's going to be lying on the belly and grabbing either both feet or one foot. And breathing and holding and observing. All right, a breath practice that I would like to show. Kapalbhati. First is diaphragmatic breath. So the diaphragm is a muscle that transects our body. It's a horizontal plane. And so when we breathe in, it releases downward, allowing the lungs to fill and expand. So the lungs get to fill and expand, and that diaphragm is releasing down. A forceful use of the diaphragm to press the air up and out is kapalbhati. But you want to have no tension in the nasal passageways or the throat for the expression or the expiration of that breath, right? We want it to be free and open and clear. That tension is going to create more resistance in the body. You don't want you don't want the chi to reverberate or the prana to bounce back in and do harm into the body. So I'll give a demonstration of that. It's an abdominal breath in. Okay. Now I'm not shirking here. It's coming from here. So the belly expands out, and then when I am pressing the air out, the belly forcefully and swiftly. Okay. Relax the jaw, no tension. Tongue is relaxed, lightly touching the roof of the mouth with the tip of the tongue. Sitting upright, a free and open vessel. And let's see how many of these we can do. If you get lightheaded, spinny at all, stop. Okay? So we're applying ourselves and feeling the dance between the ease and the steadiness. And when the ease and the steadiness starts to get distorted in any way, let's pause, step back, take a few cleansing, clearing breaths, right? Observe your posture. Is it collapsing? Where's your mind? And let's find a few cleansing, clearing breaths. Burning away, eliminating. Not just physically, but mentally. Kapalbhati. Lastly, was the Kriya practice of that Kundalini exercise that we did. Here, finding the revolving. And practicing our tapas, our dedication and devotion. Noticing when we want to stop. What's making us continue to go? What is the voice? Is it a positive voice? Is it a rigid voice? What are we experiencing in the heat in the physical body? In the heat in our minds? Relax the diaphragm. I'm noticing an urge for me to stop, and I'm going to give myself a few more seconds. Finding a new edge. Feeling myself allowing for just the application of the tapas in the exercise. Observe my senses, observe my breath. Where do I feel physical heat, actually? Where do I feel heat in my mind in the form of an emotion, a thought? Lastly, for study, because applying ourselves to reading to taking in some sutra lesson, right? That svadhyaya element of our practice requires discipline. It requires applying ourselves, saying, yes, I want to read that thing. Yeah, I said that I want to connect in my yoga, then I want to read and understand a little bit more about this philosophy. So, I guess I will recommend to see if there is a text. I don't care if it's about tapas or not. Maybe there's a book you've always said, hey, I want to read that. I want to know a little bit more about that. Get it? Read a page a day. Read a paragraph a day. But either way, you're saying, I'm going to set this as my plan. I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to observe it. All righty. So we have our sun salutations, our, help me out now. Sun salutations. I know I did boat. It said boat pose as one of our poses. Tree. There we go. Sorry, had a blip. Tree as one of our poses this week. And bow. I know, Claudia, I feel like I heard you give me a little moan on bow. But because we didn't do it in our beginning, I'm going to bring that to mind here, and I'm just going to stop here into a bit of a sphinx and get my back ready, because I was sitting upright for a bit and my back would now want me to just start to jam into that posture. So I'm preparing my hips, preparing my back. All right, so half of a bow here. Maybe starting to straighten that leg lifting here. So that can be your bow one, and then of course the other side. Perhaps your hands do not reach your feet. You might want to use a strap here, and the strap might be holding your hands here. You can rest here. You can start to lift. Okay? Maybe not releasing, taking a rest, and reapplying in your dedication. What do we get to observe about what's changing? How does the body start to receive and accept this or reject this? What happens in the mind? And letting my spine rest before coming up. All right, so those are the postures. How sweaty will you get first? Standing posture. Julia, yeah, I think it was tree, yes? And I don't think I understand your question, Claudia. So if you want to help me out there, I'm happy to answer it. Sun salutations, tree pose, chair, not chair, boat pose, and bow pose. Here we go. And then Kapalabhati, forceful exhalation breath, is a firing breath that we will work toward. And then lastly is our Kundalini spiral exercise. Commit to reading, studying a text this week, a paragraph or a page a day. All righty, just adding humor. Can I grasp my ankles? You're going to grasp your ankles, Claudia, with the strap, or do one at a time. Okay, any thoughts, any questions? I think that we've got our work cut out for us this week. Tapas can be a really interesting aspect to look at. We can get overly aggressive about it, and we can get overly frustrated with ourselves. And that is ripe territory for looking at what's going on. Why am I that upset with myself? Can I remember the first limbs of yoga in the yamas, which is non-harming, a kind thought? So once we start to open that door of tapas, we get a lot that we get to look at and confront and heal and forgive and say, wow, okay. And notice how hard it is to apply ourselves and walk in our lives every day in a yogic way. And I hope that it creates a respect that, okay, this yoga, man, this stuff is hard. Yep. And you can do 100 sun salutations, but how about have a kind thought on yourself throughout the day and see how hard that is? Applying ourselves with a heat toward a positive change, with a heat toward a healthy body and mind. Hi, Julia. Let's see what you got. A great straightforward approach. Okay, great, Julia. You can send me an email for the book references, and I'm going to try once I end this live to type into the comments some book references. All righty. So you can please do feel free to email me or send me a Facebook message. Though I appreciate it. I really appreciate you being here. So remember, tomorrow we will be doing more of a flowing practice. We will feel that physical heat. You get to caution yourselves on when you're walking that fine line of turning it into a boot camp punitive experience for yourselves, or what it is offering you to grow and heal and make a healthy relationship with in body mind. Thursday will be our new edges. So we'll learn approaches in some of those postures, breath, and other aspects in new levels. And then on Friday, we'll look at the fundamentals of a lot of these poses. I don't know how that order ended, but I've ended up keeping it that way just for consistency. I guess, Wednesdays could be basics, cooking everything up to Friday. But I'm okay with it so far, so now. So, and then remember, practice on your own. Don't just show up here. Practice on your own. Okay, today kind of counts a little bit, but you know what? We really only did maybe about 15 minutes or so of some practice. So you might want to say, hey, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes tonight of reading and 15 minutes of yoga poses. There you go. And it doesn't even have to be these poses. Okay. All righty. Let's come into our deliberate closing. So a part of creating ritual and ceremony helps us know that we're in our practice, okay? That we're not just casually having a drive-by, right? I refer to some poses like Cobra and Up Dog as like drive-by poses, but we have drive-by yogic practices because we're, number one, we leave it on the mat and we say, oh, I did yoga. No, I am yoga. I am yoga. I am being yoga. I am practicing. It's an active space of how I walk and live. It's not a thing that you left over here. All right, I'm ranting. Let's find, ritual. So we'll ceremonially, ritually take a moment and reconnect. How's my body feeling? How is it guiding me for what it needs today for the things that I'm about to go and do and be? And can I maintain this connection? Am I growing a connection to body, or am I already planning to leave my connection to body here on my mat? How's my breath? How am I going to try to remember my breath? How am I going to let it help me and that connection with it help me when I'm off my mat today? Carry my awareness of breath with me to serve with me throughout my day, helping me be my highest being. Who and how is my mind? Notice if your mind right now is trying to remember something. Oh, I want to remember that thing. I want to make a mental note. Stop. Just be here. If it's meant to stick, it'll stick. You can always hit review. Be present right here. What is your mind doing? And can you ask it to be still? And can you just observe its fight or frustration with it? And give it a healthy dose of kindness. And feel the body and the breath and the mind together, unified, working together. Team yogi. And just feel the effects of any kind of philosophical learning that have come in today. How are you wearing devotion and dedication and applying yourself with a heat? How will it help you today to be your highest self? Hands to the heart center. A single Om if you wish to join. Feeling your connection to vibration. All that is kindness and love in me recognizes that same space in you, and that is Namaste. Thank you all so very much for joining. I'm ready for my day. I hope that you're ready for yours, carrying with yourselves your commitment to your commitment. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga, and this has been our home yoga practice live this week. Tapas, discipline in the heat of change. Thank you all so much for joining. If it's in your heart or your pocket, please feel free to give a donation, paypal.me/justbeyoga. And when I sign off here, I hope to type in some of the names of some of these texts. Peace. Be well, everyone.